What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with Howard Bender. Welcome into the Fantasy Slam NFL DFS Show Week 12 edition. Howard, you and I usually do this sort of as a recorded show in each every week, but we figure, post Thanksgiving, some people are about traveling, some people are out there Black Friday shopping. Why not do a live NFL DFS show here for the people on a Friday? Get ready for some afternoon football randomly on a Friday as well with the Jets and Dolphins kicking off. I mean, we got a lot going on here. Football doesn't sleep in week 12, it seems like.
Football never sleeps, dude. Never sleeps. I was actually just sitting there writing an email to the staff at Fantasy Alarm, just making sure that everybody's prepared for weeks 16 and 17, which fall right around the Christmas and New Year's holiday. And, want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. Folks, if you're watching us here on YouTube, we thank you so much. Please hit that like and subscribe button to Fantasy Alarm. We are not answering start-sit questions, okay? That is not happening here. We're doing a DFS slate breakdown. We usually record this, but again, no Coop, no Brit today. So John and I are helping you scratch that itch a little bit here. If you have a start-sit question, go to the Fantasy Alarm Discord and just ask your questions over there. Or you can hit up John or me on Twitter. You see our Twitter handles there, and we'll be able to handle season-long start sits a little later on. This is DFS. We got a very interesting slate to break down here, possibly even build a lineup for you guys. So I see you in there, Fatty McFats. I see you in there, Josh. So just make sure that you guys understand here. What does this say right above me, John? This right
that
here.
says DFS show. Like I said, we do answer start sits on Sundays as well, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm there with Britt Flynn, then 11 to 12 with Coop, getting you guys ready to set your lineups for Week 12. Bender and Coop do the same thing during the 10 to 11 hour over on SiriusXM. And if you are a Fantasy Alarm subscriber, you have access to our Discord. We're in there answering your start sit questions almost 24/7. So this show today, again, DFS focused, DFS centric here. So if you could just sort of ask us your DFS questions, we'll do our best to have you guys set some winning lineups here for this week. Howard, how was your Thanksgiving? How was your Thanksgiving lineups for you yesterday?
You know what? They actually did all right. I had one lineup that was a Dak Prescott-led lineup, but I made sure that I locked in both Christian McCaffrey and CeeDee Lamb. I got some correlation with McCaffrey using the Niners defense, which obviously helped me as well. Like the big busts there, obviously David Montgomery, well, more Jahmyr Gibbs than David Montgomery. But we didn't get out of Detroit what we thought we were going to get out of them. Probably got a little bit more out of Dallas than some people were expecting. Not a lot of anything out of Washington, and then again in the evening game, not a lot out of Seattle. So I was smart to stay focused with a Dallas stack and to use that, but the rest of the lineup just kind of walked softly there. I think I 3x'd my money, but I didn't play heavy either. Sure. I'm saving it for this slate.
Yeah, we got 10 games here on this slate. Some heavy hitters also on this slate as well. The watch list has been out. The DFS coaches are out there. You can follow all those along. But let's just jump into it here, Howard. Breaking it down at the quarterback position. Quarterback coach is out live on the Fantasy Alarm site right now. We gave you a free taste of our coaches and playbooks for that Thanksgiving slate, so you know what we're bringing to the table here for the main slate. Quarterbacks up top, Jalen Hurts at home against Buffalo, Patrick Mahomes on the road against Las Vegas, Josh Allen on the road against Philadelphia, up over $8,000, and then CJ Stroud slowly working his way up into that 8K tier now, $7,700 home against Jacksonville. Stroud is the cover of this week's quarterback coach. I think that really doesn't need an explanation. When it comes to building out your lineups and what you've looked at so far in the watch list here, Howard, how are you prioritizing your top tier quarterbacks this week?
I mean, I really dig the top tier. I really do. Anything from, I think Hurts against Buffalo is a perfectly fine spot to be. I do think maybe we see a little bit more running there from DeAndre Swift. Mahomes against the Raiders is always nice. The Kansas City Chiefs, they average over 30 points a game against the Raiders. So you know that Mahomes is going to be slinging the rock over there. I love Josh Allen against the Eagles. The Eagles have a tough pass defense, like not like tough as in like really not that great. And I love what Joe Brady is bringing. Joe Brady really likes to feature the underneath slants, the crossing routes, and you know what we did see in the last game there was that while Stephon Diggs remained the number one, they pulled back on snaps for Diggs and Davis. And you saw a little bit more Trent Sherfield. You saw a little bit more Khalil Shakir. No, Shakir's snaps stayed the same. Deontay Hardy. You know, those guys kind of played a little bit more. They kind of, you know, worked their way into it. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of, you know, really where you know, what we're expecting from Joe Brady. So knowing that there is a little bit of a shortcoming in the in that Eagles secondary, despite getting Kevin Byard out there, you know, I think it's a nice ad for them. But I still think that that Allen with Brady as the offensive play caller here, I really like that. And then CJ Stroud at home against the Jags. That's like a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, the Josh Allen thing for me here, I think it was a little bit interesting because it obviously looked great last week against the Jets. Everybody was playing the Jets defense in DFS because they were $2,600, and we hadn't really seen that Buffalo Bills offense look all too great over the prior weeks. And obviously the Jets defense still been pretty strong. They go back home here, does Buffalo, after that loss to Denver, and they really look good. I was a little bit surprised here. Coop did the tight end coach this week and put Dalton Kincaid in his fade section, which had me maybe draw back a little bit on Josh Allen, because I do think going into Philadelphia is kind of a little bit of a test that I want to see that Bills offense kind of take. I want to see that Bill, you know, with the day two with Joe Brady, week two, Joe Brady as their offensive coordinator. Can Josh Allen continue that level of success? So I don't mind him in tournaments, but I'm still want to taking a little bit of a wait and see approach with him there. I'm with you there, obviously, on Stroud and the cover of the show. 3 interceptions last week. You know, we were waiting for the big interception day to come from him because he hadn't really turned the ball over all too much. Yeah, now it has only 5 on the year after 3 last week, but still 73% of his passes, over 300 yards again, another double-digit touchdown performance from him, another 20 fantasy point performance for him. So a pretty popular play this week. And then I don't mind spending all the way up for Jalen Hurts. Just the pure rushing upside for him just continues to give him a really nice floor. Now, you don't want 19 fantasy points when you're spending $8,300, but the fact that you know you're almost guaranteed to get a rushing touchdown out of him in this game, and I think we're going to see some more of an improvement on the passing attack here. We know Buffalo's secondary has been exploitable at times this year. They're getting a little bit better, but still a team that, you know, has lost a lot of key pieces there due to injury. I think we get Hurts and AJ Brown back on track here this week, and a good week to spend up. And I think because there are 4 big name quarterbacks, the rostership at this position is going to be pretty spread out as well. I think a lot of people will look at that Mahomes matchup, as you were alluding to, averaging over 30 points per game in his career against Las Vegas and the Raiders here. But that their pass catchers worry me. If it's not Travis Kelce, you know, Rashee Rice, you know, there's some questions I think still there to that offense. But a top tier that is certainly to be considered. After that, I think it gets a little interesting. The mid tier, there's only a couple of quarterbacks that I liked. I think Kyler Murray at home is a good spot. Again, the rushing upside, back-to-back weeks with rushing touchdowns for Kyler. The passing game was a little bit improved last week. You know, the Rams secondary isn't all that special here. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is in a terrible spot, but you and I are both kind of higher on the running back this week. We'll talk about that certainly coming up as well. And then I go back to Baker Mayfield. If Baker Mayfield's just going to sit in the mid 5Ks when he's not facing the 49ers on the road, like I think there's some real upside for him to get 20 fantasy points here. He's another guy that doesn't need to do a lot to hit that sort of 20 fantasy point plateau. You and I talk about that a lot. If he goes for like 250 and 2 scores and a pick, that's 20 fantasy points. That's right in the wheelhouse of Baker Mayfield in this matchup against the Colts. So I didn't really write up anybody lower than him in the quarterback coach this week. I only wrote up a couple quarterbacks in general here because I did like a lot of the top tier guys. But when I went to the mid tier, Kyler, Lawrence, and Mayfield, and that was the book here for me this week.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to circle back to Trevor Lawrence here for a second, because I do think, well, yes, you want to run on on Houston. We're going to see that. It could, because the pass defense for the Jaguars really is not strong. And I expect, CJ Stroud to be slinging the rock, significantly against them. I think it does put Lawrence into an intriguing spot here because, yes, we favor the ground game. Are they going to jump out to a big lead? Will this turn into a little bit of a second half track meet? And how much does Doug Peterson want to maintain or at least build off of that momentum? You finally saw a game out of Trevor Lawrence that really made you happy. He was hitting his spots. He was efficient. He was running the football himself as well. That was a great game for Trevor Lawrence. And if I'm Doug Peterson, I'm going to want to build on that. I'm going to want to say, hey, dude, listen, you killed it last week. That's what you're supposed to be doing on the regular for us. So, does he end up doing that? So I do like the way that matches up here for Lawrence in the sense that it could, have him passing. I'm still very bullish on Etienne. And Etienne could be the guy who leads the way, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying here, John.
Yeah, I do. Listen, the one thing I've talked a lot about Trevor Lawrence is his numbers on the season obviously could look better. They haven't been terrible. The problem had been when they do get in that red zone, they've opted to then run the football. And that's why Etienne's sitting there. I think he's got 6 or 7 rushing touchdowns on the season. It's nothing to do with Trevor Lawrence playing badly. His completion percentage is great. His yardage probably could be a little bit better. We've seen inconsistencies with the wide receiver group. But last week, he had that zone defense. He attacked it really well. We saw Calvin really had a good game. You and I talked about this yesterday's show again. This is, Houston does play a little bit more of his own defense here. Could be another spot for Trevor Lawrence to kind of find that soft spot and pick them apart here. So I do like Lawrence as well, again, but I think more people might end up leaning towards that running game this week because for years now, it's been you run the football against Houston and the way Etienne has found the end zone. So I'm with you. He's in the quarterback coach. I think it's good spot to stack and maybe even be a little different this week when it comes to the price point. But the guy's coming off of 30 fantasy points. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. Feels like a little bit obviously of an outlier. He has some mobility to him, but not generally a guy that's going to run for multi-touchdowns in a game. But will be remain to be seen there. Any other value quarterbacks for you here?
Well, come on. Don't you want to go with Tommy Cutlets against the Patriots? Don't you want to go with no, of course not, John. Let's move it to the running backs.
All right,
this is the good thing. This is the good thing that we're identifying for people right now. We prefer to pay up at QB and will likely pay up at QB for our cash games and for some of our stacks if we do have a pay down. When the QB whisperer mentions Baker Mayfield, that's where we go. We've seen it through a few times this season here, and I'm not going to deviate from that plan. So if that narrows down the number of QBs that I have to write up for the DFS playbook, Johnny, let's go.
Let's go to the running back position where I do think, again, some names maybe we haven't really utilized a lot this year, but I do think have some value here this season or this week rather. You have Kamara, Barkley, your top 2 price guys. I've already mentioned I'm really big on Travis Etienne here at $7,100. Cover of your watch list, cover of today's show as well. Today's kind of giving it away where we feel when it comes to Etienne. But in the mid tier, I'm feeling Derrick Henry this week. Again, I haven't played a lot of Derrick Henry at all this season for obvious reasons. The offense hasn't really been good. He's had obviously some good weeks here, but not the Derrick Henry season we're used to him having. But we know you run against Carolina. I like that Tennessee's at home here. This shouldn't be a game where they're going to be trailing because I don't think Carolina's offense is all that good to put them in a spot where they have to play catch up. So this could just be a game where they go out and give the rock 20 plus times to Derrick Henry here.
You would like to see that for sure. Absolutely. Tajay Spears didn't really work out as a dart throw for me last week. Listen, you shoot your shot, and that's the way you do it. For Derrick Henry, though, yeah, I do agree with you. He has not seen huge volume. This could be a very strong way because Tennessee needs the win. Tennessee is at home this week. Vrabel needs the win. He needs to make sure that this team is staying locked into, playoff contention for the division title. And it's a game like this that Vrabel knows he has to win. So where do you go? You lean on the guys who have done it for you before. And Will Levis has had back-to-back games where he's been a little on the disappointing side. So, yeah, okay. let's go back to Derrick Henry. Like, that like Vrabel took Henry out to like a steakhouse the other night and was like, all right, dude, this is it. This is your game this week. So I'm totally in on Derrick Henry here. At that, especially at that price point,
6,400. Yeah, it's such a great spot. I also feel like Isaiah Pacheco here is in the spot that I'm looking to get. We just got word Jerick McKinnon has been ruled out for this game here, so that's obviously limiting now the backfield rotation. He had that good stretch of receptions here. He may now go back into maybe that third down, be on the field for more third downs to catch the football. We know the volume was there, obviously, against Philly. They did not shy away from running him against that tough Eagles front. And now you're going up against Las Vegas. If this is a game where Kansas City does jump out to a big lead, could get a pretty heavy dose of Pacheco just closing this game out.
Yeah, listen, all right. So, just in this range here right now, because I think Henry is in a good spot. I like Mixon as well at home against Pittsburgh. They don't have a strong run defense. And, with Browning under center, sure, you expect that maybe the Steelers try to like stack the box a little bit, but he's got weapons, and he's not like Browning is not bereft of talent. This is not like throwing, Tim Boyle or Bailey Zappi into your lineup. You actually have somebody who can play ball a little bit. So I don't hate using Joe Mixon with a Bengals heavier lean on that. I agree with you on Pacheco as well. I think he's in a good spot. We also did kind of skip over DeAndre Swift a little bit. Okay. I do think that Swift is a guy who we're going to need to pay attention to this week. I think this is going to be a very competitive game. We already know you can run on Buffalo.
Yeah, again, I think there's some value to him. I wonder sometimes if he gets lost, obviously, in their game plan. The carries have been nice. These are games that they've obviously been ahead in, so they've been afforded to run the football a little bit more. I haven't really gotten to him yet in any of my lineups, but I can see a reason in tournaments definitely to get him in there. Touchdowns in 2 of the last 3 weeks, some involvement in the passing game. So I don't hate it, just not a spot that I found myself getting to quite yet. Rachaad White, as much as I mentioned liking Baker Mayfield, White very much involved in the passing game here. A guy that they're not shy of giving the carries to as well. I think at $6,100 in a PPR format like DraftKings is another good spot for him at the price.
Yes, I definitely think that Rachaad White's in a great spot. He scored a touchdown in like each of his last 3 games. So yeah, I think he's definitely in a really nice spot. I may or may not like him for a plus 100 anytime touchdown this weekend, John. I'm just going to throw that out there.
For those of you who are tuning in, maybe you tune into the Better Sports Betting Show in a couple hours that Howard and I are also both on, and we'll talk some of our favorite NFL bets for Week 12. I'll just give in now. Jerome Ford, he's been your baby for a while now.
Uncle.
I'll just say fine. Again, had the touchdown last week. I get the 11 fantasy points. He only ran for 2.6 yards per carry. It's been my biggest gripe on him all season long. It's like he's not efficient unless he's breaking off big runs, but he does have that big playability. And Denver's not a team that really stops the run at all. So if you want to go Jerome Ford here in the mid-tier Howard this week, I'm sure he'll be in your playbook. I'm fine going there.
Listen, the matchup's great against Denver. They're weak against the run. They're solid against the pass. This tier, actually, this area, to me is one of the best, as far as if you're looking for some interesting value, especially in your GPP tournament lineups, right? If you just go below Rachaad White, I like Ramondre Stevenson against the Giants. Dude saw 20 carries last week. I think that this is just a game that's profiling as kind of a gross, let's just, get the hell out of here football game. Neither team really wanting to win that much, but I think that, Belichick is he's perfectly fine taking the ball out of his quarterback's hands, giving the volume over to Ramondre Stevenson. This is not a tough matchup for him at all. So him at 5,800, I really like. Ford, yes, I agree. Ford is in a great spot. I also like Jaylen Warren against Cincinnati. Cincinnati Bengals are giving up the second most rushing yards per game this season. They do not look good at all against the run. And, obviously you're going to want to, Pittsburgh's going to want to try and slow it down on the road. I'm sure that, he and Najee are going to split the carries, but Jalen Warren, he catches, passes out of the flat as well. Not necessarily if that's going to be necessary against Cincinnati, right, but I like Jalen Warren as the more explosive runner here.
What if I told you, Howard, just taking a look at our draft percentage forecast, or looking at getting some of those updates done in a moment here, that by far and away the highest expected roster running back this week is Jonathan Taylor.
That doesn't surprise me.
It's like double the field.
I mean, listen, it's a good matchup for Taylor here against Tampa Bay. No,
I was gonna say not running up against Bay.
Yeah, I just realized that they were Tampa Bay. It's very interesting there. Why that might be the case, but we saw some early projections last week that kind of fizzled out as well. So agreed. Not entirely sure where Jonathan Taylor is sliding in here as being, the highest.
He's over 30% right now.
That's pretty crazy. I'd like to know why.
I would like to know why as well. So again, the early projections, these get updated throughout the weekend. So maybe, like you mentioned, the numbers come down a bit here. I still think Hunt is in play here because of the touchdown upside for him. Now you're getting him at $4,800 as well. For a while there, he's up over 5K. Still got double-digit carries against Pittsburgh. So this isn't a guy that isn't getting no work. You like Jerome Ford. I've always said I think Hunt's an interesting pivot off of him as well. Loving the double-digit carries, loving the red zone work. He even got 3 targets last week. So, for cheapy this week, Kareem Hunt for me is certainly in my player pool. Ezekiel Elliott, noted Giant killer. You like Ramondre Stevenson. Elliott still got 13 for 54, and he was the guy that was getting a lot of the red zone work. So again, if you like Ramondre, an obvious pivot, it could be Ezekiel Elliott there as well. Any other running backs for you this week, Howard?
Let's see. Scrolling down. I do not like anybody else.
Unless we get some injury news here, it feels a little difficult to find a value in where we're going.
Which is why, hanging out in that mid 5K range seems to be a good spot to be.
Agreed. I would agree with you. Let's go to wide receiver here. Again, at the top, AJ Brown, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, the usual suspects. Looks like Cooper Kupp's going to play this week here, Howard. I don't know if that changes any opinions that you have on the Rams passing offense here. I, again, didn't really find myself attracted to too much of a spend up here at the wide receiver position, but what are your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not really looking to spend up here at the wide receiver spot as well. Listen, AJ Brown's in a great spot against Buffalo. Their secondary has really, really faltered, covering number 1 wide receivers when Tre'Davious White went down. So, AJ Brown, if you're looking to, throw it down there for money wise, yeah, he's probably going to be in a good spot. I almost want to just play a showdown game for that Buffalo Philadelphia game. Yeah. Maybe take some fringe pieces and utilize them somewhere in my lineups. But overall, I kind of it's a game that I want to just watch rather than be invested in. Kupp, Puka Nacua, again, very disappointing if Kupp does play. It's such a great matchup, Take the seat, dude, and just let Puka go ham. I was all in ready for Puka. I have to change my lineups now because I was all set to go for Puka Nacua with Cooper Kupp being out against Arizona. So not good, but not great, Bob. Not great.
As I mentioned, I like Baker Mayfield. I'm always in on Mike Evans. Had the touchdown last week again. Man's already up to 7 touchdowns. He's going to have that 1,000-yard season once again. Adam Thielen just keeps getting targets, so why are we going to go away from him? Tennessee is not a team that stops the pass. Again, I don't think that Carolina's offense is all that good, as attested by the amount of points they score, but 8 for 74 and 11 targets gets you 15 fantasy points. And if he does find the end zone, which certainly could happen here against Tennessee, given how bad their pass defense is, I think Thielen at 73 in a full PPR league certainly makes a lot of sense. And then, price keeps jumping on Tank Dell, up $1,000 from last week, but third straight week of over 10 plus targets, 4 touchdowns now. the dude is certainly worth the cost at this moment.
Well, we've already said that we love CJ Stroud this week. Yeah. Why wouldn't we say we love Tank Dell as well? I love this Houston passing game going up against the Jaguars. The Jaguars, again, soft secondary, very strong front seven. So you're going to want to get some exposure there for sure. And maybe, just maybe, I'm stacking some Texans, in this matchup. So be on the lookout.
Sure. If you like AJ Brown, I'm assuming you're in on Devonta Smith, who's had the better game last week and a couple touchdowns in 2 of the last 3.
I'm sorry, say that one more time. Oh, like Devonta Smith. Yes.
You were in on AJ Brown. I imagined you were in on Devonta.
Yes, sir.
All right. Moving our way down. Where are we going in the video?
Moving further down, I mean, how do you not love Pittman?
Sure.
In this matchup against Tampa Bay, their secondary has gotten wrecked. Houston playing about 80% zone coverage as opposed to man coverage. So that means Calvin Ridley is back in play for us here again this week. I like that. I like him more than Christian Kirk, simply because Kirk thrives more in the man coverage area there. And then, I'm kind of looking down there at the bottom 5K range there, John. Believe it or not, with no Marshawn Lattimore, Drake London kind of pops for me this week.
Yeah, no arguments. One of the early builds I had in this week did include Drake London at $5,000. Again, hopeful for a little bit more out of Desmond Ridder in the passing offense here this week. But yeah, I'm in on Drake London at 5K. We've seen some ceiling from him. This season. Again, I think that we'll start to see some of these playmakers more as we move along because things aren't working out in Atlanta. If Arthur Smith wants to hold on to a job here, I don't imagine the ownership group loves seeing 3 first-round picks all in the top 10. Although positional ones drafted out of the draft class, the wide receiver one, the RB one, and the tight end one taken in those individual draft classes, not being used. Right? We got the 20-plus carries last week out of Bijan. Maybe we'll start seeing more targets flow the way of London and Pitts here coming out of their bye week. So I'm with you. Cortland Sutton's been your binky. I know it's Cleveland, but they are home.
He's been my binky.
End zone, so
I do. You know what? Again, I mean, I like Cortland Sutton. I do not like this matchup for Denver.
Okay.
Right? Everybody's in on Denver. Everybody's flying high with Denver. I think everybody forgets that it's an emerging team. It's not a perfect team here. And, when you've got like Denzel Ward running around there, hanging all over Cortland Sutton, as much as I love him, I think I have to love him less this week, John.
Okay. The red zone work has been ridiculous.
The red zone work's phenomenal, man. I love the red zone work for sure.
Our guy Uncle Ted in the chat said Downs is going to go nuclear this week here.
Nuclear?
Are we going in on Josh Downs here?
I don't mind Josh Downs. Is he going to go nuclear here against Tampa Bay? I mean, I think, listen, they do struggle against slot receivers. Can we get that? I mean, the price tag for Downs, where is he? He's at
$4,800.
48.
Yeah. He was higher the previous 2 weeks. Obviously, fell off against Carolina and New England in those 2 games here. But I mean, prior to that, he was coming off 3 really big performances at cheaper price tags. So we're getting him at a decent little value here.
We are definitely getting him at some value there. There's no doubt about that.
At the wide receiver position, you weren't wrong. Pittman is getting a ton of love. He's actually the highest projected rostered wide receiver this week.
Look at that.
Maybe the Algos are just all in on the Colts. How do you have Taylor as the number 1 running back and Pittman as the number 1 wide receiver? We didn't even talk about Gardner Minshew. I don't think Gardner Minshew is all that great of a spot, but everybody's playing this offense, at least so far.
Yeah. Listen, because I mean, that's the funny thing though, that they're so heavy in on the running backs as opposed to the wide receiver. I mean, you said Pittman, which that makes sense given the way that Tampa's secondary's been. They kind of funnel it across the middle of the field. So I don't hate it, man. I definitely don't hate it.
With T. Higgins out this week, you mentioned being okay with Browning. Do you think Boyd is another viable option at 46?
Nah, I'm not really. I'm not really floating in the fringe area there. It's to me, I think he's probably Browning's been like brought into the coach's office and been like, all right, you're only looking for Chase. Sure. You got to spend all your time here with Chase. Make sure you and Chase are on the same page and just kind of, get it done that way. I feel like that's kind of where we're going to be.
For better or for worse, Demario Douglas is the leading receiver in New England. He's $4,400 going up against the Giants. So I'm perfectly fine going back to Demario Douglas here as a dart throw. We still don't know who the starting quarterback is. Bill Belichick did a press conference again today. As hard as the reporters tried, he would not tell anybody who the starting quarterback was. He said all three guys have been told to be prepared to play. Those three guys being Will Grier, Mac Jones, and Bailey Zappi. They've asked who's getting the majority of the first team snaps, and he repeated the exact same answer that all three guys are being prepared to play. So we don't know who the quarterback is, but we do at least know that Demario Douglas is going to be the number one wide receiver on this team, in my opinion. So at $4,400, I'm fine getting here.
Yeah, I'll give him to you. I mean, you maybe he's the Impemba special in the dartboard today. I don't know.
Maybe. We'll see. Again, I just think the target share for him and snap share continue to rise. I think many people are going to be looking at this next wide receiver spot for New Orleans with no Michael Thomas. You have A.T.
Perry.
A.T. Perry potentially is your dartboard play this week, Howard. But Rashid Shaheed is someone that our Discord has been asking a lot of questions about this week.
And rightfully so. Listen, Shaheed is he's going to be on the field a lot more. I kind of like, what I like about A.T. Perry is that he's got really good speed that he can stretch the field, but he loves the contested catches. And he really, he fights for him. He's a decent size guy. And I think that, this is a very nice spot for him, as just being an under the radar type guy. Shaheed, as much as I love Shaheed, does he really do anything more than these deep bombs? Like he gets how many targets per game?
He did have 9 last week.
Oh, he did get 9. Yeah, because
2 weeks rather. Yeah.
Okay, so then maybe Shaheed is like our cash game play, and A.T. Perry is our dart throw for GPP tournaments. If he's gonna see that kind of a target share, Shaheed that is, then you have to be in on him.
I also think that if it's Jameis Winston at the quarterback position and not Derek Carr this week, Shaheed with those deep balls with Jameis, we know he loves to throw them. Pretty interesting for tournaments. At $4,300, a good price tag for him. And then, A.T. Perry's 6'5". So, just an absolute monster guy to throw the football to downfield as well. Any other value plays on your board here? Last week you tried going with Robert Woods. He's 4K again here, 8 targets in that game. For if you're not playing Nico, maybe Woods is your pairing with Tank Dell this week.
I do like Robert Woods. I definitely do. I think that he's again in a good solid spot here. Nico is a little on the disappointing side. Nico dropped a touchdown pass. Yeah. He also had didn't get positioning like he should have. Now maybe Stroud kind of underthrew him a little bit, and that was the interception inside the end zone. It was nice to see Nico there, but I do think Robert Woods against the Jaguars. He's going to handle the underneath stuff. I think I'm leaning towards using him this week, so I definitely don't mind that.
Good price tag. Good price tag on
it's a good price tag for him. Looking further down, out of some of these guys here, I do like Khalil Shakir. One of the things that I noticed here is that while the snaps were reduced for Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, Khalil Shakir saw the exact same, 75% of the snaps. Shakir's on the field. He's seeing 4 or 5 targets, roughly on average. Nothing huge, but the Philadelphia Eagles have had a problem covering slot receivers. They're a bottom 10 team against slot receivers in coverage, and I think that especially if you're going to have Bynard looking at Dalton Kincaid a lot, then what's the slot coverage going to look like? So I do like Shakir as a nice little pay down for a GPP tournament, and I think he can pop.
I agree. I'll agree with you on that one. No arguments here. Rondale Moore led off last week's game with the touchdown. It was the only target he had of that game. But there is no Michael Wilson again this week. We saw Greg Dortch also get involved. He is $3,300. He had 6 for 76. I mean, Hollywood Brown hasn't really been that impressive. Trey McBride's been pretty good, but any interest in Dortch or Rondale this week for Arizona?
No, there wasn't enough work to those guys. Like, I mean, we were so like, I used Rondale more in cash games last week because everybody was using Rondale more. So I'm like, all right, if you're going to give me this dude at $3K, I'm going to use him. And I load him into my cash game lineups. As like a fantastic pay down. But I mean, yeah, one target there.
Dortch saw 75% of the snaps. So he's definitely the guy that took over the Wilson role there.
Who, what?
Greg Dortch.
Yeah. And Wilson's out this week.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think Dortch at $3,300 is a pretty interesting play. We know he and Kyler Murray actually have some good chemistry. We saw that last year when Dortch had to play a bigger role. So I think Dortch is a pretty good GPP play here this week as well. Any other guys on the board for you here, wide receiver?
Let's see. I'm scrolling down. We said A.T. Perry. What if, John? What if? Now, I'll ask you this one here.
Sure.
We've targeted against Alontae Taylor throughout the season.
Oh, boy.
He is the slot receiver. He's going up against Atlanta. Does that put us a little bit onto Van Jefferson, who's been working out of the slot, or does that mean that we should just immediately pivot to the tight end conversation because that's where Kyle Pitts qualifies?
So I'm fine going with Kyle Pitts this week, and we can certainly move on over to the tight end position here. Travis Kelce's $8,200. We talk about the matchup against Las Vegas, and he's basically the most reliable piece of the Chiefs offense. I'm not like, we can't keep buying into the whole Taylor Swift thing, but the numbers are pretty crazy when Taylor's not at these games. He's just, I don't know what it is. He's not as popping, but $8,200, super expensive for sure. Again, Coop's got Kincaid and Hill in his fade section of that tight end coach this week. I like going back to Trey McBride, but to your point, decent number of targets lately, like consistent. I'll take consistent targets, right? It's not 0 anymore. It's 6, 5, 4, 5, 5, like perfect. Can he convert any of these into some yardage or touchdowns, or is it going to be Jonnu Smith again? Hopefully not. I'm hoping coming out of this bye here that it is Kyle Pitts against New Orleans. I do like the call. Don't mind playing him. The 4K price tag feels fitting to me.
Yeah. I mean, again, I hate putting any kind of trust into Atlanta. You know me, man. I hate.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Arthur Smith's the bane of all fantasy managers. So
he really is. But yeah, I mean, I'll take a look at him.
Yep. I think a lot of these guys are going to be in play here. David Njoku had 15 targets with DTR. Denver's a team that struggles against the pass, struggles against the tight end position. If that's the kind of target share he's going to get at, it's kind of the target share he's just got no matter who the quarterback is. Mm-hmm. He has at 15, but I mean, they throw to him a lot. Perfectly fine going 41 here. Ingram, McBride, this whole mid-tier range in pretty good spots in terms of DVP here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, obviously, Kelce, I don't know what the historic numbers look like, but I guarantee you the historic numbers are pretty damn good for Travis Kelce. If you can afford it, if you want to do a pairing with him and Mahomes, do that. He's always tough as a one-off just because of that price. But then, yeah, I mean, like the immediate drop down to like Dalton Schultz in this one at 54. I like Kincaid here still against the Eagles. You're right. McBride is money in the bank. But yeah, I mean, I kind of Njoku, all right. I mean, I built a lineup here, right? And so, Njoku is my quarterback because it also allows me to my tight end, because it also allows me to get some correlation here with the Browns defense.
Sure.
Right. And I love, having the Browns defense. I know you usually want to correlate it with a running back, and maybe I turn to, Ford a little bit more. But for right now, the lineup that I was playing around with has Njoku in there because I would love to see him get double-digit targets again.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you again. Love the volume here. Coop's also been talking up Cade Otton lately. It gets a spot here against Indy. $3,200 price tag for a guy that's getting decent target share. Certainly paying off the value here. If you're getting almost 10 fantasy points a game, and then obviously against Houston, he randomly pops off for 2 touchdown receptions. But again, I like the Tampa Bay passing offense this week against Indy. They're not great against the tight end position here, and Otton's certainly solidified himself in that pass rotation for them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a 95% snap share along with red zone targets. That's pretty solid move there. I like Cade Otton as well. I think he's in a good spot, nice and cheap. Kind of looking.
Love.
I was gonna say, maybe a little love for Freiermuth. I mean, unfortunately, it's tough to know exactly what the Steelers are gonna do. Right? They're on the road. They're against a team that doesn't handle the run very well. Right? So you could see a lot of Najee and you could see a lot of Jaylen Warren. How much throwing are they going to do? I think you can take a dart throw at Pat Freiermuth, especially at this price. I mean, because this is practically free.
He was min price last week. Obviously, a much tougher matchup against Cleveland here. Better spot against Cincinnati. We've talked a lot about picking at Cincinnati secondary here. He played 54% of the offensive snaps last week in his return game. He kind of maxed out around 75-80% during his healthier week 2 and week 3 spots here. So, again, new offensive coordinator. Maybe they focus a little bit more on a security blanket passing offense with for Pickett there, getting Freiermuth some extra looks. But again, the price tag for him feels pretty decent, just sort of how he immediately kind of pop back in. Now, again, I'm not going to hold a matchup at Cleveland against him. I think there could be better days ahead.
I think there could be better days ahead. So, I mean, I'll keep an eye on him. And then below that, Michael Mayer, I still want to see what his, I like his target share increase.
Any Tanner Hudson?
What's that?
Any Tanner Hudson?
Yeah. Oh, you just wanted to, you're like, no way, I'm not talking Michael Mayer at all.
I mean, if you want to talk Michael Mayer, that's fine.
So that's fine. Tanner Hudson, he's in a good spot here, but I mean, what's his, what kind of workload is he going to get?
I mean, the volume has been there for him. That's kind of what sticks out to me here. The fact that they are actually throwing him the football. Again, there is no T. Higgins in this game, right? I mean, it's a younger quarterback. And
is there no T. Higgins? Has he officially been ruled out?
Yeah. I saw a report earlier. I mean, I'll double check it right now, but I'm pretty sure he was ruled out here.
Cool. All right.
T. Higgins. Yes, T. Higgins and Cam Taylor-Britt will be out this week, according to Zach Taylor. So.
All right.
Again, you're right. The snap share isn't like the greatest, but when he's on the field, they're not throwing him the football. So, dart play for sure. I'm not saying go core play yourself some Tanner Hudson. And if you want to go Mayer, that's fine too, Howard. I won't poo-poo you there.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Any other tight ends?
No. Do you want to address the elephant in the room, that being Coop's bonus dart throw from the tight end coach?
What is it? I missed it.
It's the dude from Tennessee, Wiley.
Where is he? Is he min price? Oh, right down here. Josh Weil. Yeah, so he was talking about it because he's starting to play not over, but cut into the Okonkwo snaps. I mean, listen, nobody's better at picking out these random dart tight end plays than Coop. So,
excuse me, that almost hurts.
Almost, but you already anointed him.
I did everything, but don't say nobody.
All right. Well, in a former,
what you should say is, it's been a long time since I've seen somebody pull out tight end plays the way you once did, Howard.
It hurt seeing the Stone Smart touchdown last week because it's basically the only thing he did in that game. Well, Darnell Parham was the consistently better tight end, but he didn't have the 50-yard touchdown, so finished with less fantasy points there. But yeah, sure, Josh Weil, if you want to start throw $2,500 for a Coop special this week, sure, go for it. It is in his tight end coach. Defense, we talked about it. Browns, obviously one of our favorite defensive plays this season. Now, no over 4K defense, I think, is interesting because if we're used to having to find the money to spend up for a defense, 3,800 being the most expensive one is kind of curious here. I also don't love a ton of the defenses on this slate. Steelers obviously on the road against Cincinnati, you could look at because of Browning as the quarterback there. I don't think I go Giants, but I would still consider the Patriots defense. It's a 33.5 game total, Howard. So we're not expecting a lot of points. Belichick's defense isn't actually the problem. It's the offense that's the problem. So, you could see the Patriots get after DeVito here at $3,200.
Yeah, we could definitely see that happen there. I'll say this. Look at sack totals. Look at, takeaways, interceptions. Look at those numbers there. Find a defense that fits your build.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's looking at it from correlation or you're just going to take a cheap defense, like the best possible cheapy defense, to kind of help yourself along with your lineups, right? I'm not going to say, I'm not going to go with like the Raiders or the Texans even against the Jaguars, but you could conceivably look at the Falcons going up against the Saints because, Carr was cleared from concussion protocol, but, what happens if he takes another hit and Jameis Winston's in there, blah, 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 blah. I also think you could do the Cardinals at 3K simply because it's Matthew Stafford with, still a bum wrist. And, we'll see what happens. Is the timing with him and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua going to be dead on, with that? Find the defense that fits your lineup build the best. Because really what you're doing when you're picking your defenses, and I'm saying this to you, everybody out there watching, you're chasing the defensive touchdown. Where can I get what team is likely to score that defensive touchdown?
Right.
Like that's what everybody's chasing. So go look at numbers for interceptions, go look at numbers for, takeaways, go look at numbers for sacks. Because at least what you want to do is you want to get points for sacks and points for forced fumbles or something like that if you're not going to get that touchdown. So
this is the one I keep pointing to. We played Baltimore, the Browns defense this week against Indy. They gave up 39 points and they had 16 fantasy points because of 4 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries, a pick, and a touchdown. And then they basically did the exact same thing against Baltimore. They gave up 30 points, but they had 2 picks, 3 sacks, and a defensive touchdown, 15 fantasy points. So you can give up points as a defense if you're a defense that also gets the sacks, gets the turnovers, and those things lead to touchdowns to kind of, hammer home your point here. So, sometimes those defenses that are in matchups that you're not used to going to, we look at the Eagles a lot, right? The Eagles are $2,900. Do you want to play them against Buffalo? It's not sexy, but they're home. Josh Allen has turned the ball over a lot. They get after the quarterback. Like, you want a cheap defense with upside. The Eagles could certainly be that team this week. Sure. Just some dart throws. Buffalo's almost, again, a team that's probably in a little bit of a worse spot given their injuries on the defensive side. But, we're used to seeing Philly kind of priced up a little bit more here. You could see that be a spot for them. Maybe the Chiefs get after Aiden O'Connell here at 3,300. A defense, again, we're not used to playing, but in this certain matchup could be a one to pay attention to a bit more.
Yeah. Well,
you said you built the lineup, Howard.
I did. All right, here you go. Quarterback, throw in CJ Stroud.
Okay.
Running back, start with Travis Etienne and then round it up with Rachaad White. Wide receivers, hit up Tank Dell. Find yourself a little Michael Pittman.
Okay.
Splash in a little Robert Woods. At tight end, plug in David Njoku. Get your sexy flexy on your boy Greg Dortch. Because I know how you like that volume, John.
He's out there, man. 75% of the snaps.
Give yourself the Browns defense.
There you go.
So I've got the Texans stack with ETN correlating off of that. Yep. Heavy run game there. Expect the Texans to throw more as opposed to running against Jacksonville. So that's kind of where I'm at. Rachaad White, again, you run on the Colts. Rachaad White has been solid. You get your correlation with Michael Pittman coming back at you over there. Njoku, and you get your correlation with the Browns defense. Okay. And then Dortch is your one-off there as your salary saver for 3,300. So, I'm paying up at quarterback. I'm paying a little bit for running back. I'm paying a little bit, for wide receiver. And then I'm finding my bargains, somewhere else out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no arguments here. Again, just an example lineup. Howard, of course, will have the example lineups for the Week 12 slate on Sunday. The playbook and the dartboard will be out on Saturday as well, so you can all find that live on the Fantasy Alarm website when all of that good stuff comes out here. If you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, of course, now is your chance to do so. Go to fantasyalarm.com/win. You can scan that QR code there on the screen. If you go to our annual subscription package right now, it's 40% off the month-to-month cost. It's about $25 a month annually. If you want to go month-to-month, it's $35, $36, something like that, Howard. So save a little bit of money going annually. Get access to all of our premium content all season long through next year, Week 12, 1 year. So anything that is premium on site, you get access to. Same thing with the month-to-month. It's all the same. Just saves a little bit of money, and you get access to our premium Discord where we're in there answering your questions all day Saturdays and nothing but a nonstop question fest. And then Sunday mornings as well. So we don't leave you hanging coming into the NFL's weekend there, both for DFS and seasonal. You got to scan that QR code. You got to go to fantasy.com/win and join the family here today to be part of all the fun stuff. Any parting words here, Howard?
No parting words at all. I'm looking at Rex Timotheus asks if we're off of cash games this week. No, I'm not off of cash games this week. I'll play them. Just be careful when you do, because I had my cash games canceled last week because DK didn't fill them in properly. My FanDuel ones were fine, but my DK ones got canceled. So just kind of be on the on the look at that. Last minute advice on today's showdown. Yeah, use lots of Dolphins. Don't use lots of Jets. How about that one?
Go check out Dan Malin's Showdown playbook that's live on the site as well. I mean, honestly, there's no sharper DFS player, I don't think, than Dan Malin in there. And he's in that Discord for you guys pretty much all day, helping you all out there. So that's our DFS show for NFL Week 12. Again, we'll be back live 9 to 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. Myself and Britt Flynn, we can answer some of your DFS questions and seasonal start to take questions there as well. Then I come back here, live 11 to 12 Eastern time on Sunday. Me and Coop doing the same dance, 10 to 11 over in SiriusXM. You got Bender and Coop there. For now, everybody, good luck in your Week 12, and we will catch you all later.